said hello. How you going? How you going? Oh, you enjoyed the off-season? Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to KG5 as we look ahead to a really mouth-watering clash between South Hobart FC and Hobart Jeep Zebras. I'm joined, as always, by the irreplaceable Damien Gill as we look to bring you this really exciting clash of the opening round of the Summer Cup. Gilly, we just saw the Lions beat Knights 5-2, but this is the one that a lot of people have come out to watch tonight.
Yeah, this is the one we talked about, Lions Knights being a bit of an entree. We're about to get our major helping of the evening. I reckon this one might be just so good we might get a little bit of the sweet stuff, a bit of dessert as well with it. But please don't desert us. Stay tuned because it should be a good clash coming up as the Hobart Jeep Zebras, new name, don't mind it, up against South Hobart. Both look fairly different from they did last season. Of course, South Hobart, well publicised, lost 6 posts as we pause for a minute's silence for the passing of Michael Pell. Of course, Michael Pell, one of Tasmania's northern referees, refereed Victory League football, Northern Premier League football for a long time. Was tragically killed in a motorcycle accident last weekend. So honouring the passing of someone that was a great contributor to our game, Pesky.
Yeah, well said, Gilly. Unfortunately, I think a few of the crowd members not quite aware of what was going on there, and the minute silence not greatly observed by a few, but certainly those in the stands were quite in their moment of reflection for a man that gave a lot to the game in Tasmania during his time on this earth. So a nice tribute there, and I'm certain that the referees and the officials in particular tonight and throughout the rest of the weekend are remembering a man that they officiated alongside. Coin toss here between Fag and Ludford. They're no stranger to each other. They've faced each other as captains plenty of times before. Of course, we've got some friendly fire, let's call it that, Gilly, with a couple of players jumping ship to either team here. Leszczynski making his way to South Hobart, and of course going the other way was Jaden Hay. And we'll see who will be the beneficiary of that move tonight, as both clubs look to try to start 2015 in the local leagues, at the least, in winning ways. Copper in charge of this one, an official that's no stranger to these high-pressure clashes, and there'll be plenty of feeling in this one. Make no mistake about that. It's Summer Cup time, but both teams will want to get a mental edge ahead of the season proper for the Victory League, the third year of the Victory League. South Hobart with a kick-off. They will kick towards Grove Road. Here we go, Gilly. Daniel Brown, of course, back into the starting lineup for South Hobart. Looks to be a little bit of a change setup. Lewis spreads wide to Ludford. Hunt on the ball now. Looks to try and find Hamlett. Well headed. Clear by Cox. Ludford on the ball now. Some time to settle. Looks to try to open it up and find and use the pace of Hunt on the left. Sporting a bit of a shorter do this year, and perhaps not quite so stand out in terms of haircuts on the pitch, but he can't get on the end of it, and it'll be a Walsh throw-in for Zebras. So Schmidt lining up at right back, Brown and Lewis the pair in the centre of defence for South Hobart, and Ludford in an unfamiliar left back position. Stevens, Hall and Downs in the middle for South, and then we open up with up top Hunt, Leszczynski and Hamlett. Although Hall playing really high wide right, Brown looks to try and spread that forward, but he overhits the ball and will go all the way to Voss. South Hobart, Morton trying to play some of those tricks again. It looks almost like it's almost a 4-2-4 type setup with Stevens and Downs in those deeper lying midfield roles, and both Hunt and Hall pushing high left and right, with Hamlett and Leszczynski playing a little bit more central. Leszczynski gets his first touch of the ball as Ludford looks to spread it over the top to Hunt, but it's out again as just can't seem to get that final pass in the final third. For Zebras, Walsh at right back, Cox and Harrison in the middle of the park. Young Harrison made the switch from Knights this year. I believe he was involved in Cardiff's youth setup, Gilly. And we've got Toghill at left back. Phillips made his way over from Olympia. He'll play in the centre of the park alongside Hay and Fag. And up top, we've got McKeown either side of him, Whitehall and Self. As a desperate lunge from Harrison, it only gets as far as Hall. Toghill there to sweep up. He's got plenty of speed. Hall won't trouble him for pace. And Zebras get out of trouble. Gilly, a bit of a nervy start here. South Hobart with the best of the early possession.
Very true, Paskey. Just had a tweet in from Liam Scott, who of course is across the Bass Strait, playing his trade over in Victoria, and he's just said that Ludford not as big as the former left full back. Great string, lads. Great gag, Liam. Honestly, you're a pencil. You are thin as they come. Though I'd kill to be as thin, mate. I've been in a good paddock lately, so fair play to you. As it comes down the left and it's out of play, and is it big Jason Voss back in the action? It's good to see. It's Tyler Harrison in his new black and white stripes. Will take the free kick. We're into the 4th minute. It's a really nice night here at KG5. It's sort of just light enough that you don't need the Knights. Tyler Harrison skips around Alex Leszczynski like he's nothing. It comes to Fag, who's wasteful in midfield, gives it to Schmidt. Schmidt puts it out in front of Hall. Hall uses his zip. He's got Toghill on his heels, though, keeping him honest, and then Fag bustles in, doesn't he, and just collects the ball, and it's out of play for a throw-in.
That's all I see of Harrison in defence for Zebras. That's enough for me. A beautiful bit of skill. Just distribution let him down a little bit, but very comfortable on the ball and happy to take someone on in the back third for Zebras. As the ball comes high from the Jeep Zebras, and Brown is there to clear away. Goes all the way back to Pearce. Of course, Pearce received offers from Heidelberg in the off-season to make the move over to Victoria, but decided to stay and ply his trade with South Hobart. Another good sign, Gilly, that the Victory League is able to retain its talent. Of course, there are plenty of opportunities to ply your trade on the national stage, even if you do stay in Tasmania now with the FFA Cup and the NPL Final Series. So, or the PS4 NPL Final Series, I should call it, shouldn't I, Gilly? And the PS4 Victory League. So, fantastic to see that he's there, and that's really important for South Hobart and their title defence. He's a quality keeper. You'd have to say the best in the state, and they'll need every bit of skill that he's got this year to keep that title, as Brown's a little bit wasteful in defence, but is able to get a second chance in it. Plays it back to Lewis. Goes all the way back to Pearce, who'll go long and strong. Leszczynski high there. They've got that big man up there that they can focus on, but Walsh beats Hunt to it. He goes long over the top to McKeown. Oh, and it's one-on-one. Pearce misses it. McKeown couldn't quite find it, and South Hobart able to clear away some danger signs there.
Ball comes to the back, and it was looking pretty nervy signs for South Hobart, but Connor says, who gives a Schmidt, and clears it. Boom. As Voss the boss just strolls over and picks it up. Of course, he went over to Canada last year, did Voss. Nice distribution from the back. Gets out and Fag lets him Whitehall. The big Pelican fires off a shot, and it's easily collected by Kane Pearce, sporting an all-white kit that would not be to great delight of any mother that has to do the washing. You'd be filthy if your son brings home that just covered with mud. But luckily, we're playing on a synthetic pitch as it comes along to Crystal Wing Commander Hunt. Bustles in, does Dwayne Walsh. Where's the lime cordial wheels is all I'm asking. Look at them. They're as black as they get.
I like them. Straight up and down, simple, and Walsh is leaving nothing in the tank. He's put in some really solid physical challenges. Fair, but physical, and you can tell that he's up for this game. Leszczynski with a little push in the back, but Phillips able to clear. It's first time I've really seen Phillips on the ball. Goes into the feet of McKeown. He's one-on-one now with Brown. Looks to slip in. Oh, looks to slip in Fag, I think it is. And Hay almost scored against his former club. He got in one-on-one. A great little slip from McKeown. Pearce was out and just did enough to deflect the ball against the left upright and save South Hobart blushes. And as it stands, it's 0-0. McKeown brings down Dan Brown. There's something that I didn't think I'd have to say tonight. Thought it'd potentially be the other way around, but Copper pulls him up for it, and South look to play the free kick early. Hunt on the ball. Plays to the left. Ludford, he just doesn't quite have that pace that they need at left back. You got to say, Gilly, it's probably not an ideal spot for Ludford to be. Good defender, let's make no mistake about that. He's been a stalwart in this South Hobart team for a long time, but left back, I'm not so sure about it, especially given how South Hobart like to play. I don't think they're going to get a lot of forward movement down the left, and that makes it a lot easier for the likes of Walsh and Whitehall to try to get further forward at the right, because they don't have to worry about Ludford streaming forward.
Yeah, and I think it's a weird problem to have, but South Hobart over the last couple of years, while they've had Lewis and Ludford there, they're just carbon copies. They're clones of one another, and I don't think Gemwalt wants to play those two as a centre-back pairing. Of course, now you got Dogger Brown back in. Like you can't leave them out because they're all...
I'm going to make a controversial call then, Gil. You got to leave one out. I agree, you've got to play Brown in the centre of defence for some height, but I think you've got... unfortunately, I think you've got Ludford in the middle of the park, and I think Lewis misses for mine if you're going to play this formation. I might be harsh in saying it because he's a quality player, but I don't think South Hobart at this level can afford to have someone in the back that's not going to stream forward as Fag gets on the ball. Zebras finding themselves with a little bit of dominance in this next 5 minutes as Hamlett strides out and... Walsh was there to play it off him, and it'll be out for a throw-in for the Zebras. I think it's a luxury that they potentially can't afford, Gilly.
It's a funny one. I probably would have said at times last year Lewis was in better form than Ludford, but Ludford's that name that you're not going to see pushed out of the South Hobart lineup unless it's under his own terms, I think, and especially as captain. As Benny Whitehall gets a ball across the box, and it just eludes Sunday McKeown there, who's looking pretty dangerous early doors.
Yeah, my 5-1 tip doesn't look too good at the moment, Gilly. I'll give you the hot tip. Zebras good at counting themselves here, and it's a really tight tussle. Neither team able to get on the ball a lot. South Hobart perhaps with the greatest of possession in this opening 10 minutes, but with changes in midfield, I think South Hobart, you got Chris Downs in midfield against Joseph Stevens, who are perhaps trying to play the playmaker creator roles, but at the same time defensive screens in front of the back four. I'm not sure they've potentially got the body or the experience to take control of this central midfield tonight, but perhaps they'll prove me wrong. As Walsh gets forward, spreads to Benny Whitehall. We know he's got delivery with the right boot, but Brown is there to clear away. Fag comes in with a volley with the right boot, but it'll ricochet off a South Hobart defender, I think Stevens, and go out for a corner. Whitehall's getting involved early, and he's getting in behind that South Hobart defence, which is good signs for Zebras, but we haven't seen a lot of Self on the left.
No, he's been keeping to himself as it's played in. Oh, and it's goal time! Hobart Jeep Zebras, there you go. A ball delivered in by Self in the 11th minute here, and McKeown rises high, and I think it was off his head. He just nods it in. Past Pearce and into the right side of the net, and South Hobart just left to wonder what happened there. Their positioning of set pieces has been something that Ken Morton said has worried him so far in the pre-season, and so far not too crash hot as they kick off and South Hobart get the running away.
Well, that'll concern Ken Morton. They've always been pretty shaky at set pieces, and in fact, without having seen a lot of the games, the feedback that I've heard throughout the pre-season is they're conceding at set pieces. You would have thought that perhaps Dan Brown would go some way to helping resolve that problem, but the canny movement from Sunday McKeown sees him get on the score sheet in the 11th minute, and Zebras with the ascendancy now. Great ball from Self, low, hard, whipped across the box. Downs will put one into the top of the 6-yard box, but Hamlett can't get on it for South Hobart, and Voss able to clear in goals for Zebras. So if you just joined us, Zebras lead South Hobart 1-0 through a Adam McKeown header after a beautiful ball was whipped in by Ricky Self for Hobart, the Zebras. Jed Donahue perhaps just stepping outside of the shadow of Ken Morton this year.
As Dwayne Walsh lets Rex Hunt know about it, absolutely hammers one into him. It'll be a throw-in. But, it's always an interesting one when these pair of coaches meet. Of course, a lot of history between the pair with Ken teaching Jed a lot of what he knows. As the ball comes down the left and is seen out of play. Ludford to throw in. Looking to go long and strong and into the box. Looking for Leszczynski. This is a new threat for South Hobart, having Leszczynski at their disposal as Dogger Brown looks to go direct with a header from defence. Plays it out wide. Finds Hall. Hall looked to zip and gets by one. Does well. Looked to square it up from the byline. Gets by a couple of Zebra numbers, but Harrison's there to see it clear out to Self, who tries to feed Toghill. Toghill lets it glide off his boot and back to Self. Self gets round a couple, and that's a foul, and he's brought down. Nice bit of work there by Ricky Self.
Yeah, you said it once before, but tricky Ricky. Oh, Ricky, you're so fine. You're so fine, you blow my mind. Hey, Ricky. Really lovely quick footwork there from Self. We forget that Self's been playing the game for a long, long time. Got to say, probably best part of 15 years at senior level now as the ball comes over to the left. He looks to spread it in, but can't quite hit it. McKeown finds the follow-up, but his strike goes straight at Pearce, who's able to gather and then spread wide to Hunt straight away. Actually walking the dog Gilly probably 2 weeks ago and saw himself doing some private work by himself at a park in Hobart, up in Lenna Valley, just doing some extra ball work, some extra sprint work, and clearly focusing on that fitness and making sure that his body's ready for the season proper. As Toghill takes a throw in now to the feet of McKeown. Spreads wide for Toghill. Ball comes in. Ludford's in the right position to clear away for South Hobart. Hamlett brings it down and then tries to go long and strong. Not sure Ken Morton will be that impressed with that sort of approach from Hamlett. I think they'll be looking for them to get it down and try to maintain some ascendancy in the midfield and move the ball forward at pace but on the deck. Ball comes long from Zebras. Dan Brown is there to clear away. Plays into the feet of Connor Schmidt. Downs calling for it in the middle. Wasn't given. Straight back to Lewis. Lewis spreads wide to Hunt. His touch lets him down, and Hay is there to clear away to Walsh. Leszczynski gets the ball now. Clashes with his own man in Hamlett. Hamlett spreads to Hunt. Hunt one-on-one with Walsh. Oh, good tackle there from Walsh, and adjudged to have fouled Hunt there. As Hunt looks like he might try to play. No, he'll settle, and they'll set up a set piece here.
David Flash Lithgow, obviously tuning in, has just said, "There's your one goal, Paskey." The Zebras got that one underway. So nice bit of work there from Flash, and
Flash on board. Big shout out to Flash. I think over in Vic plying his trade, one of the greats.
Chrissy Downs over this one, plays into the centre. Voss catches him a little bit by surprise, but after a juggle, collects nicely. Does Voss the boss? Oh, I tell you what, he's pumped it down the other end and got his fellow keeper involved, Kane Pearce, who gratefully accepts it. Through to Joseph Stevens, who is so cool, calm and collected, sometimes you just got to check for a pulse. He plays back. Pearce looks out to the right but opts to go into the middle to Brown. Brown gets it moving, but it's not his best work. And it's picked up by Toghill. He probably tricked himself in the end and puts it out of play.
Great to have Tim Lunnon on board as well. I think Lunnon back up in Queensland, is that right? Bundaberg enjoying a nice little black rat perhaps on a Friday evening as he sits back and enjoys a little bit of Summer Cup Victory League action. I think the comment from Tim, sitting back watching Summer Cup with Football Fed Taz, feels a bit weird not being there. Love the passion. Feels a bit weird not having you here as well, Tim. Big loss to the game down here, but fantastic that you're still involved and able to tune in via the World Wide Web and the fantastic initiatives of Ash and Gilly and all all involved in Football Fed Taz. As game settles down a little bit here, Zebras have come out and matched South's intensity and in fact probably got a little bit more strength on the ball in the midfield, and they've been able to get into dangerous areas and provide good service. As it looked like Hamlett might have handled it there, but a little bit of infight in there. I think Hamlett a bit frustrated with Hunt there. Exasperated cry of go Rex. Phillips fails to get a touch on it. Hamlett almost snaps at his heels and gets it out. Harrison sliding the ball through. Brown looking for Pearce to come, and he does. Sends it long and strong. Hamlett flies but can't get his head on it. McKeown is there to clear away. He's a long way from home. Plays back to Harrison, but Cox is there. Overhits it, and it'll be a South Hobart throw-in.
Love for to bring it in, and Mark Page also getting involved. Great work, lads, tuning in from London, freezing cold. Looking forward to seeing how the lads respond to Albie's move. Well, so far there hasn't been too much between them, but probably helps his case that he's got Tyler Harrison, a bloke that just moved to the club on him. As it comes to that man, Leszczynski, gets it back to Rex, the wing commander Hunt, with a bit of a shimmy. He gets it moving. Left of the box, and Cox just knocks him over. Plays it through to Whitehall, and he's loud Wills, lets it run to McKeown. Across halfway he goes. He's still running. He's burnt off Lewis here. He can play it through to Self, ignores that, goes out to the left, and it's Jaden Hay using his pace. He shoots tight from the byline. Good save from Pearson out for a corner.
All instigated by Whitehall. Fantastic challenge from Cox on Hunt. Self one-on-one in the box and rattles off a shot after a quick short corner. Pearce is there to hold at the front post. Electric stuff from Zebras. McKeown breaking lines and then bringing in Hay. That's the run that Hay can provide when he does play at central midfield. Some question whether he should be in the role there or not, but he's got the work rate and the engine to get forward like that and support the men up front, and McKeown found him well. Unfortunately, just missed him as Leszczynski just straight offside there, perhaps a metre or so, and as Hamlett tried to find his feet.
One thing I'd have to say about South Hobart so far is they're looking very slow. Super slow. Jaden Hay, his turn of speed is killing them. Absolutely killing them out on the left. And, exactly. Well, that's where Jaden's operating. But when he's burst down the left a couple of times and absolutely ripped him up, Benny Whitehall gets him going. And also Ricky Self looked to turn him a little bit as well. So that's got to be a concern for Ken Morton. And we've spoken about it, having Hugh Ludford, Dogger Brown and Matt Lewis all in your defence when you're playing a back four. Probably leaves you a bit susceptible to that pace coming the other way, especially in the wide areas.
Yeah, and again, Stevens, who perhaps hasn't played a great deal of top-level football in the last couple of years. You've got a youngster in Chrissy Downs in the middle as well, playing that screening role as Leszczynski gets forward. But Harrison is there to clear away at the front post for Zebras. Great positioning. Whitehall getting forward on the right here again. He just rushes a little bit as he tries to get it in behind the defence. Ludford finds himself in an advanced position. Turns back and then crunched and turned over by Fag. Ludford unimpressed by that little bit of attention he was shown. Yeah, as I was saying, Chrissy Downs probably a little bit inexperienced and they're maybe just struggling a touch there to screen in front and work out that positioning against the Zebras midfield who are well on top at the moment. Self moves it inside to Phillips. Phillips back to Harrison. He's played well so far. Walsh now comes to get the ball. Good pressure from Hunt. Whitehall there, a little bit of tricky work and finds Hay with a lovely little back heel. Whitehall turning it on. Spreads it wide left. Self now one-on-one with Connor Schmidt. Tries to dink it into McKeown's path. It's headed clear by Brown and Whitehall just goes... Oh! McKeown almost out-positioned Brown for a header in the air. It was a good ball from Whitehall. Just stood it up. Brown didn't get much of a run at it. McKeown almost able to jump and get the winning header. Whitehall imposing himself on this game.
And in some bright wheels as well, as he borrowed a set from Dwayne Walsh as Matt Lewis plays it forward. The hammer just gets past Copper to collect. It comes from Rex Hunt. He loses it. Jaden Hay plays it swiftly into the middle and Fag on the ball to Toghill. He pumps it forward looking for McKeown. Not a bad option. It's collected by Pearce at the edge of the box. A little fun fact, I know Kane Pearce has recently been staying at Matthias Toghill's house. So might be some interesting banter there if he ends up back there at the end of the night as Harrison comes across to cut off a ball down the right. South Hobart not looking themselves at this stage as Darcy Hall picks it up, turns nicely, finds the hammer, plays it through. Hall receives it back but a bit too heavy on the touch and Voss collects. Voss the boss pumps it forward. He's got a nice big boot on him. He's looking to go direct to McKeown and Lewis sees it clear. White hot Whitehall, the big pelican. He was always a favourite of one of our favourites, Corn Dog, who unfortunately has crossed the Bass Strait. Rumours abound he might be trialling for Melbourne City as a backup keeper, but we'll see if anything eventuates from that. Play short from Pearce. Downs gives it back to Pearce and they spread across South Hobart. I've got to say Jaden Hay is looking pretty good at this stage early on. There was a fair bit of talk that he's looking fitter, he's looking sharper than he has in quite some time, which could be a really big move for the Zebras. And if he can get back to that medal winning form that he had in 2013, it'll be a key cog in this team as it comes out to Whitehall and he bustles with Ludford. He keeps going though, does the Pelican, but then Rexy Hunt gets across and sees it out. White hot Whitehall. He is white hot at this point in time. Throws back to Dwayne Walsh in the The very dark boots. Goes out from Jaden Hay. He must have special ordered those boots because you just can't buy the old blacks anymore. As it comes across to Downs, he puts it into Cool Calm Collector Joe Stevens. Feeds forward. It's blocked in midfield there by Phillips. Fag feeds out. Self on the ball. He does well. Shimmies. Gets it into the centre. Ricochets off Downs. It comes back to Phillips, who handballs, and it'll be a... Is it he that handballed or a South Hobart number? It was Hamlett that handballed, sorry, and it will be a free kick.
South Hobart, you'd remember last year, Gilly started a game against, I think it was against Zebras, who tried to rush them. Played pretty much a 2-1-7, I think, first 5 minutes, and blew them off the park in the first 5. Ken Morton's tried to start the game with 4 high tonight, and it hasn't worked for them. There's a big gap in between forward and attack. They're not able to find Hamlett on wide right. They're not able to find Hall. He's been virtually non-existent in the game, and as a result, on the rebound, the back 4 of South Hobart are looking horribly exposed, and they're not only getting exposed in terms of numbers, but exposed for pace. As Ben Whitehall stands over the ball here, set piece. So Ken Morton perhaps with a few tactical changes to make in terms of structure. Although, what would I know? Whitehall plays in, off! Manages to find McKeown's head again with a free header, but the flick goes over the top of the 18. Danger signs again at set pieces for South Hobart, with McKeown not tall in the slightest, but able to find room to get his head on it unchallenged.
Here they go, South Hobart. Hall through to the Hammer. Hammer enters the box and he fires off a shot, and cutthroat. He finishes into the bottom left. That is what you get from Ben Hamlett. First shot for South Hobart in this contest. On the break, enters the box, takes his chance, bottom left, and easy as you have it, 1-1 here at KG5 in the 27th.
We just spoke about Darcy Hall not being in the game, but lo and behold, gets an important touch, plays in Hamlett, and then went forward and continued his run, which drew away that defender. Hamlett looked like he might shape and put it inside, went along with it and finished through Voss's legs. Perhaps should have been done a little bit better in goals for Zebras there, Voss, but South Hobart level 1-1, but you would have to say that it's against the run of play. Zebras have looked good, and I think Donoghue will be disappointed that they're on level pegging again after all the play that they've had and some of those chances. But credit to Hamlett, cutthroat, finishes that chance, one opportunity, 1 goal, and that's why he's in the team. That's why he does those press-ups. Stevens on the ball now. South look to settle. Ludford keeps it. Goes all the way back to Lewis. Brown spreading it to Downs. You go long to Hall, but when it's floated up like that, Cox is going to have you every day of the week, and he heads it clear for a South Hobart throw-in. Leszczynski, that's an absolute howler from Voss. I don't mean to be critical, but 29 minutes in, South Hobart go 2-1 up, and 27 minutes of top-notch work from Zebras have gone by the wayside. Voss with an absolute howler. That ball's come from 30 yards out. It's gone direct in the middle of the goal, not too high. Voss has gone to try to flick that over the top of the 18, over the top of the crossbar. He's found himself all at sea, completely missed it. Leszczynski scores against his old club, and South Hobart lead Hobart Jeep Zebras 2-1 in the 29th minute. Gilly.
I didn't even see that one. It happened that quick. I caught just the tail end of it, and it didn't look like it was Voss's best effort, I'd have to say. If you're Jed Donoghue, you are just filthy. You're cooking.
You live it.
You have dominated the best part of this game, yet you're 2-1 down from 2 shots on target. It's like what seems to happen when I'm playing FIFA, to be honest. It's pump forward. Leszczynski nips a little header, and it should be mopped up by Harrison. He does. He helps it on his way out to Whitehall. Approaching halfway. Looks to play past Ludford. Ludford picks it up nicely. Whitehall bustles in. Comes in the middle. Hamlett tries his best Benny Whitehall impression. He picks up the ball and it bounces out of play.
There's plenty of voice, plenty of emotion in this game now. Zebras are going to have to find their way back into it. And they can't take their eyes off the fact that they're playing good. They were playing good football. As Hunt goes in on Hay. Oh, now Hamlett throws a little elbow in at Hay, but they kiss and make up very quickly, which is nice to see. Hamlett pretty hard at it, and so was Hay, but clearly the animosity is only on the park. So Leszczynski tries to get involved with his former teammate Fag now as well. Jed Donoghue pacing the technical area. He's got to be livid.
Played forward now by Fag, and Lewis attempts to mop up, but it falls Fag in midfield. Tolkill down the left he goes. He's got Hall on him. Tries to get it by him, and Lewis will mop up from his former teammate, and Hamlett chest down. Stevens taking his time on it as he approaches the bullseye, pumps it forward down the left, looking for Hunt to run onto. Ricochets off Walsh. Hunt picks it up. Oh, and he's almost tucked home South Hobart's third in a matter of minutes. He's just put it wide of the left upright. Opportunistic stuff there from Chris Hunt, but he just couldn't quite finish it off.
Zebras under some real pressure now after a solid start, and I guess that's why South Hobart are the champion team they are, able to turn things around and benefit from perhaps the mistakes of Zebras. As Fag heads on to the chest of Daniel Brown. He looks to try to find Hall. Downs tries to bring it down. Brown out to challenge now at the feet of Leszczynski, and Stevens clears away. Hamlett throws his body about. Does well, the South Hobart striker. He'll bring the ball forward and spread it to Hunt. Hunt one-on-one now with Walsh. Goes past him with ease. Loops it to the back post. Leszczynski is there. Goal time! In the space of 5 minutes, South Hobart have turned this thing around. Hamlett, perhaps the catalyst, finishing the first goal and having a real impact on that third one as he beat three men in the middle of the park and brought Rex Hunt into it on the left, who floated a really delicious ball to the back post of Leszczynski. He brought it down one touch and then fired home from about 8 or 9 yards out on a slight angle on the right. Voss unable to get to it, and Leszczynski scores against his old club for the second time. Could it be hat-trick time for Leszczynski tonight? South Hobart now, 33 minutes into this game, lead Hobart Zebras 3-1.
From Leszczynski to Hunt, and then seen clear by Phillips. He's in his Zebras debut. And, I tipped 3-1 South Hobart, but it's tough to see this staying at the scoreline it's at. Zebras barely breached, but when they've been breached, it's been fairly horrible. And it's been damning, actually. 4 opportunities, 3 goals and 1 almost as it comes to Hunt. He cans it into Hay, and it's a handball from Hay. It'll be a dangerous set piece for South Hobart, and this has Leszczynski written all over it.
I beg to differ. I think this has got Chris Downs written all over it. Greg Downs, when he played for South Hobart, was a set-piece specialist, and Chris Downs has taken up that mantle for South Hobart, certainly in all the teams he's played for the club, and I'm not sure if it will be the same for seniors. He's certainly lining this one up. Leszczynski's standing behind, looking very interested in it as well. Downs trying to pull rank on the senior man here. Hopefully Greg Downs is watching from the UK here to see whether his brother can step up and take this one. Does, just whips over the top of the crossbar, and Downs' chance goes begging. So perhaps Leszczynski will claim the next one. But great to see Downs confident enough to take that ball and put his hand up and say, I want the responsibility.
And it looks like Ethan Engels is going to get involved in the action. Off comes Ben Phillips, so he'll have a spell, and I'm sure he'll be involved once more. On comes Engels, and it looks like he'll operate into centre forward sort of area, and McKeown into midfield as McKeown's bustled over by Dan Brown. Brown has a bit of a word to Copra, and away they go. And it's Harrison over this one. Into the 36th here at KG5 Football Park. If you are just joining us, it's been a really interesting clash. Hobart Zebras dominated the first 15 to 20, 1-0 up, and all of a sudden ripped from them with 3 quick goals from South Hobart. They didn't look like it. All of a sudden they're all over it, and it's 3-1 to the good for Ken Morton's men. Be a goal kick here for Kane Pearce, sporting his all-white kit.
Good to see the live blogs back as well, Gilly. Real fan of that, and Slice of Cheese providing some really great bit of work, and good to see more contributors coming online, different points of view, people from all ends of the state. So really, really great to see. Perhaps the only thing lacking, and we'd like to see a little bit more of, I'm sure, is some more contributors for the women's game, and that's something that no doubt there's passion for within the women's circuit, and you'd like to see a few more people writing for the game to up the coverage there. But fantastic to see, and it certainly reminds me of what started the live blogs back, 4 years ago now, Gilly. Seems like an age ago when myself and Julio Ross started trying to laboriously cover the Southern Premier League. As Lewis spreads it to Stevens, out to Daniel Brown. Brown plays it into the feet of an unmarked Hall, flicks it onto Hamlett, loops it over the top to Hall, who just misread the ball and had to try to play it with his hand or shoulder, and as a result, Copper calls a handball. But good for all people. They can watch the game live if they want to sit at home and can't make the ground. But also for those people that are perhaps in an important meeting, or they're at an engagement party, or an important function, they can still keep up to date with the blow-by-blow via the live blog and, of course, all of the social medias. If you've just joined us with 38 minutes in here, South Hobart, after a poor start, to be honest, now lead Zebras 3-1 after a blistering 5 to 10 minute period where they pulled 3 goals back. Connor Schmidt wins the ball off Whitehall, but it's another corner, and that'll worry South Hobart. They've struggled at set pieces. Whitehall on the ball here. Swings it in. Goes all the way out to the back. I think it's Cox there, pursued by Lewis. Ludford there to clear away for South Hobart. Hall there to control. Leszczynski now under pressure. Plays into the middle of the park. Hamlett with a nice little 1-2 contribution to Stevens. South Hobart break now. Downs runs a little chip in. Walsh is back there to cover for Zebras, and they look like they'll get out of trouble.
A few tweets coming in. Horrendous error by Voss. Stream of the game is excellent. Love the replays. Didn't even know replays were going on, but all about it. Quoting some good old Eminem there, boys. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Awesome live broadcast. We're getting a heap of love here, Pasky. And Scotty again. South strike power is unbelievable. You have to add Man back into this team. Who drops out, lads? I don't know at this point. Maybe Hall, but then I don't know how you fit Hammer, Leszczynski and Man in a front 3 and have Hunt. I don't know. It's a real tough but a nice proposition for South to have.
Gee, I tend to think that perhaps in future we might see it with different formations, because it's a great point. Man can't sit on the bench. Although, having said that, he has been pretty absent at the majority of pre-season, so perhaps that's part of the reason. Perhaps he's not quite up to speed yet. But I think potentially you'll see Hall slip back into a more midfield type role, and maybe Man will come up top, so you'll see a Hunt, Leszczynski, Hamlett man type setup, which is very imposing in terms of strike force. Even with the loss of Brennan, amazing that they've lost Brennan, they still retain such a potent strike force. Harrison on the ball now for Zebras. Set piece just over the halfway line. He sends it straight. Pearce is there to punch away. Free. Oh, Engels with an opportunity at an open goal, but couldn't quite get the shot off. He got stuck under his feet, and Pearce was able to get back and gather. Hunt with some fancy footwork finds Leszczynski, and South Hobart settle. Oh, Self comes in and just clips the back of Leszczynski's heel. Says, gives a quick little apology, and South Hobart will get a quick little set piece with just 5 minutes to play in this first half. It's been a blistering first half, Gilly.
Enthralling half as Love gets down the left. It comes off Self and comes back. Lewis with a nice little Alabama shake sends it back. And it'll be Pearce to regroup. Looking for Ludford. He's gone quite direct there, and Walsh does well to keep it alive and get it down the right channel there, and it's picked up by Self with a throw-in. Goes to Fag, receives back to Self. Dinks it along. Got a bit of untoward contact from Ludford by the looks, but play on she goes. Downs on the ball, gets it to Love, who tries to keep it in just in front of Ken Morton, but can't, and it's out of play. Interesting to see Ken Morton dresses down for the Summer Cup. He keeps the suits for the big business. Waits till he's dropping deals in March, and it's Walsh to throw this one back in. Long and high into the box. Brown rises highest, and it comes out to Walsh, who spreads across looking for Hay. His touch lets him down. Picked up by Hall. Holds it up a little. Downs gets it moving immediately. It's a long curling ball, and it makes Zebras worry at the back as Cox just gets it to Voss away from the Hammer time. And to be honest, he's probably the most influential player of the first half of the Hammer.
McKeown with that trademark body language, not happy at all, arms in the air, says, why are you sending it straight down the hey diddle diddle from out of your hands, Voss, when I've got Daniel Brown on my six, looking to head it long. So not happy at all there with his keeper, and perhaps some words will be exchanged at half-time. Interesting that Self's come out on the right wing, perhaps to get into the game a little bit more, Gilly, and Whitehall's gone to the left. The only thing that I can see that it's done for Zebras is take Whitehall out of the game, and Self hasn't really imposed himself in this right wing. If I'm Jed Donoghue, I'm making that switch back as soon as I can.
Self's a player they've got to get into the action, I think, and they're starting to get on top in midfield as well, South Hobart, as it comes to Rex Hunt, who's starting to get into the game. Comes to Hall with a bit of space to fire off a shot. This one's wide. And it was curling back, but it was taking its time, and it fires wide to the right, and we're into the 43rd minute here at KG5 Football Park. Zebras with a fair bit to do. They trail South Hobart, the reigning PS4 Victory League champs, 3-1, and it comes out to Whitehall, who decides to have a bit of a panna session. Just gets going with a dribble. He's bustled into, and Copra just holds it up for a little bit. Was that a slice of cheese? It was a
slice of cheese, Gilly.
Was that Schmidt? I think it was Connor. No, it was. Of course it was. Of course he opens the cheese proceedings for the year, Ben Whitehall. He should.
I want a player to open it though.
I reckon he should keep a little, set of Bega in his pocket and just save the ref.
Keep a Raider in his pocket.
Here we go.
Short ball played to Downs. He lobs it long to Leszczynski. Flicks it high in the air. Shoved in the back is Toghill by Hamlett, and Zebras will settle in the back. Just a few minutes to play in this first half, and it's action-packed. McKeown opened the score in inside, I think it was 10 minutes, with a header from a corner. The Zebras were well in control at this point, and then they imploded. Hamlett managed to slot the first goal. Leszczynski opened the second with a long-range effort that Voss should have done much, much better with. The third came from a great bit of work that was perhaps equal. Goal time now. Hunt with an opportunity for South. Sorry to interrupt. As Zebras scramble in defence and try to keep the scoreline deficit the same heading into the break. And stop South Hobart scoring a fourth. As I was saying, the third goal to Leszczynski, some great work from Hamlett in the middle, spread it wide to Hunt before he crossed to the back post. Leszczynski was able to rifle home from about 8 yards out. So in the space of 5 minutes, South Hobart turned it around, and Zebras now with their hands full and South with their tails up. Chris Downs on the ball now for a corner. Whips it in. Voss comes with the fist. It's well punched and dealt with by the Zebras keeper. Downs on the ball again. Just looks to loop it in. Not convincingly dealt with by Fag. Great save from Voss as the ball looked like it was destined for the back corner of his goal. And he saved with a dive to the left, and it'll be out for another South Hobart corner. Zebras under some sustained pressure right now as we enter extra time in the first half.
Zebras know that sort of firepower all too well. Geez, I reckon they wish they had it at their disposal still, because half a little sniff there from Leszczynski almost curled it into the top corner. Tremendous save from Voss, and probably redeemed his earlier effort as the corner comes in. Voss parries it down. Ludford gets it back into the mixer, and Leszczynski has a shot from the top of the box, and Copper draws a close to the first half, and a very strange half in a lot of ways, but a half South Hobart lead 3-1, and probably deservedly in the end with the run of play towards the end of it, but it didn't start that way, Paskey.
Absolutely not. Gilly, as a defender, am I asking too much here of Voss just in with that cross to catch that ball? It's inside his 6. It's that catching height. Instead, chooses to punch it, and South Hobart end the opportunity with a shot on goal. Perhaps I'm being a little bit harsh, but I think I expect him to catch that there. But as I say, did make a good save there against that ball that was tried to be curled in by Leszczynski for what would have been his hat-trick, Gilly. As we've just spoken about, Zebras started really well. First 20 minutes, a lot of pressure, good intensity. Walsh was up and about. South Hobart really struggled to get on the ball in the middle, and they were made to pay from a set piece, as they have been in pre-season in earlier games. McKeown, not with a lot of height, but a lot of nous to get on the end of it with a header, and Zebras looked well in control, and my tip of 5-1 looked about as sticky as the slice of cheese that was shown to Ben Whitehall late in that half, but South turned it all around, perhaps through a little error. Hall got a rare look at a touch on the ball and played in Hamlett, who finished nicely to square it up 1-1. Then Leszczynski scored a very fortuitous long-range effort that just went through the flailing hands of Voss. He probably chalked that one up as an own goal rather than a decent long-range effort from Leszczynski, but I guess if you don't shoot, you don't score. And then the third effort was much more fitting of this game, with Hamlett doing some great work, beating 2 and 3 in the middle of the park, and then striding wide and spreading it to Chris Hunt on the left wing, who chipped a delicate little cross in over the back post, and Leszczynski was able to bring it down with one touch and rifle home for his second, and a brace against his old club that sees his team, the South Hobart, lead the Hobart Jeep Zebras 3-1. Gilly and Jed Donoghue with a little bit of work to do in terms of rallying his team for the second half.
He does. He would just be livid to be going in 3-1 down after what was a dominant opening 20 minutes from the Zebras. South Hobart, they hadn't fired a shot in anger at all until they just flicked a switch, turned it on, and fired in 3 from 4 shots. So Zebras, there's probably got to be some questions asked of that defence. They weren't breached too much, as I said, but when they were breached, they leaked goals. So there's got to be some work done there to plug some holes, I think, and maybe change things up in the middle. It worked well initially, but South Hobart definitely got it on top there.
Gilly, we got about 10 or 15 minutes to kill here. We've already spoken a fair bit of dross in the last 2 to 3 hours. Going to put the call out for anyone that's listening in, anyone that's on the coverage or following online. Give us a shout out. Let us know if you've got any questions about the game, about the atmosphere, or just Tasmanian football in general. Happy to answer and have some crowd involvement. Of course, if you do want to call in, you can dial in, and we'll certainly take some talk back. The number to call being 0406 868 122. That number to call, once again, the talk back line, 0406 868 122. We'd welcome some input. We'd love your company to get us through the next 10 minutes. Perhaps a little hashtag Ask Gilly. Get the big man's views on anything to do with the game and life in general. You know, it doesn't just have to be about football. It could be love advice. It could be fashion advice, pop culture, anything, tips and advice on what you should study at university. Anything to pass, how to be on time. Yeah, Ask Gilly. How do you get to the football on time when you work till 5:30 and the game starts at 6?
Well, you don't, apparently.
Perhaps you skip your lunch break, you get in early and you take an early minute.
And you might, anyway. But do get involved. There's been a fair few of you getting on the tweet, which is great to see. And head along to sliceofcheese.net as well, Pasky, just to get all your latest news and goss. There's some good stuff going down there. There will be some more fun stuff going up in the coming weeks, especially approaching the PS4 Victory League.
Yeah, perhaps an opportunity here just to bring you a little bit of insight in terms of the setup that we're running here and the man behind the scenes, Ash, who brings the live streams to you on a weekly basis. Certainly the man that was able to get us up and running with the live video stream, Gilly, back at that wonderful night of football, the FFA Cup, that we witnessed here at KG5 last year. And the setup has certainly progressed. It's getting more and more professional as we speak. Perhaps the only thing that we need is a table that resembles something on 90 degrees. But I'm just going to jump up to Ash. I know he probably doesn't want to talk, but Ash, he's got a mouthful of sandwich, just keeping the energy levels up. But Ash is just showing us a little bit of the setup here, and as you can see, it's pretty flash, and it also allows us now to bring, obviously, you've already mentioned today to people following that we've got the ability to bring you live highlights now and replays, and that's something that a lot of people have asked for before, Ash, and now they're able to see it. What have you thought of the game so far as the man behind the camera?
I don't actually watch the game, strangely enough. Spend time concentrating on keeping it going, and you miss a lot of it sometimes.
It's certainly the way. I think we've noticed that with the live blogs as well, that sometimes you're looking down typing and you miss a goal. So it always helps when there's a team of people here. But fantastic. We've had a lot of people tuning in, Ash, and people really enjoying the coverage. Can you talk us through the setup that you've got here?
Oh, simply we've got a laptop over here. We've got an input device here. We can go with 4 cameras in, but tonight we're only using one. And we've got some software, great software called vMix, which is made by an Australian company. So if you're interested, go to vmixhd.com and have a look.
Some great insight there, Ash. Have you got any further plans? You've just spoken about the fact that there can be up to 4 cameras in this coverage. Is that the sort of thing you're looking to do for the big games when we reach them in the season proper? Is that the sort of plan you've got for this year?
We'll try and do it this year, yes.
Fantastic. I'm sure the people at home will love to hear it. Gilly, we've heard there from Ash that the improvement never stops. Slice of cheese keeps on rolling, and you would think that this year we're going to see some more top quality clashes, not just in the Victory League, or the PS4 Victory League I should say, but also in that wonderful thing that's connected grassroots football with the elite, which is the FFA Cup. Of course, I presume that we're not too far away from a Leszczynski Cup draw, Gilly?
You've really put me under the bus here. You're just throwing me clean. I'm not too sure. I think there's qualifying rounds 8th or 9th of March, which will be obviously the less seed. I suppose some teams are seeded. The Victory League teams are seeded, etc. There'll be maybe 1 or 2 games qualifying then, and then we'll have a draw not long after that. In terms of date, as I said, you've thrown me under the bus, but watch this space.
I note Nick Owen on the tweet here saying Braden Man on the bench. He won't like that. Any reason for it? There's often been the likening of Ken Morton to the Pokemon master. He's got to catch them all. I think he's always applied the theory that if you've got them on the bench, they can't play against you. And perhaps that's what we're seeing tonight with Braden Mann. He certainly won't be happy to be sitting on the bench after, I'm sure he was probably spoken to by Ken Morton about the big plans he has for him this season. But perhaps it's a little bit to do with the lack of training. I know that he hasn't done a massive pre-season. And, of course, South Hobart have been training since November. So that might play some part in it. It also might be that Ken Morton, whilst he wants to win this game, I'm sure, is also wanting to have a look at the likes of a Chris Downs in the middle of the park, a Joe Stevens, how they're going to link up and seeing what Darcy Hall can provide in a more starting role. So that might be the reason, Nick, that we've seen Braden Mann on the bench. But you know him better than me, but even I know that he will be filthy that he's not the main event tonight.
He will be filthy, but the question has to be asked, all that time on the bench, how many selfies do you drive through if you're Braden Mann? There's a lot of social media work that must be done behind the scenes. He's a power of work. There's, I reckon, even a bit of swiping right. He's getting busy on a couple of levels. Instagram getting a real workover, I reckon. But yeah, it's strange seeing Braden Mann on the pint. I mean, we're talking about the best player of last year, as judged by the referees. He's golden boot 2 years in a row, scores goals for fun.
This is the wonderful thing about South Hobart, about social media, because you're able to get an answer via social media. South Hobart are saying that they're blaming cricket for Braden Mann not being on the pitch to start, but I can only presume and extrapolate in that they mean that he's been playing cricket, therefore he hasn't been training a lot, therefore he sits on the pine, Gilly.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it, summer sport? Football now is a year-round caper, and I know Kenny Morton thinks of it that way for sure, so Braden Mann on the pine, getting a few splinters, but I'm sure we'll see him feature prevalently in the season proper, and as South Hobart go deeper into the Summer Cup, which you think they will now that they're up 3-1.
For those following along and also interested in A-League scores, Brisbane Roar in the 50th minute have gone 1-0 up through Jean Carlos Solazano. Scored a penalty in the 50th. So Brisbane Roar lead Central Coast Mariners 1-0. As we mentioned before, you can get in contact, send us a text or jump on the social medias. The text and phone line 0406 868 122. Always happy to have your input and just your views on how this game's progressing and on the amount of rubbish that is being spoken. Both teams made their way back out onto the pitch now, Gilly, and we'll see what the Zebras can muster in the first 10 or 15 minutes of this second half, see whether they can turn this game around. Doesn't look like we've had any changes for South Hobart. Looks like Zebras 2 remain unchanged. But can Zebras change the scoreline? That's the real question, and we're about to find out. 45 minutes to play. Zebras with all the work to do now. Ethan Engels goes long and strong straight from the kickoff, tries to find Self, but just overhits it. And South Hobart will get a throw in. Gilly, if you're Jed Donoghue, how do you change the game for Zebras here? Or do you think it's just a matter of getting the team to play that same intensity they were for that first 20 minutes? And by the way, I should I've made a liar of myself. Braden Mann is now up top, playing in place of Leszczynski. So a half-time sub there for South Hobart. The luxury of being able to bring on the golden boot scorer from last year's PS4 Victory League and take off Leszczynski, one of the other best strikers in the league. What do you do to change this game?
You've almost got to go 0-0. Let's try and put out the same lineup we did for the first 20 because it worked, and try and replicate that and flip the switch and try and ignite something, because it was fairly flat towards the tail end of that half, and they need to get back to what put them in such a good position in this game and in the opening 20 minutes.
Absolutely, Gilly. A little tweet in from Sam Criver, of course, an old South Hobart stalwart. Once some big silverware with them, and of course played for the Knights last year. As Whitehall looks to spread it in, and Ethan Engels, if you don't mind, Mr. Speaker, scores at the front post. Pearce all at sea, and Zebras with the perfect start inside a minute of this second half. Whitehall the beneficiary of, I think, a kind rebound. Crossed it in with his unfavoured left boot, and I think it took a little deflection, maybe off Connor Schmidt, landed at the foot of the front post, and Ethan Engels was making a diagonal run across and just flicked it in front of Kane Pearce and was able to score. Zebras now back in this game.
Well, we were just saying, if you're Jed Donoghue, what do? Well, that helps. That doesn't hurt. Nice bit of work from Ethan Engels, and it's you got to think he arrived late from work. That's probably the only reason he started on the bench, because we know he's a goal scorer. He just scores goals. As the hammer plays it out to the right to Hall, he's in a lot of space. Tokyo tries to close him down. He puts it across from the byline. No South Hobart players there. It's seen away by Walsh. Comes out though. Who we got on the ball there? There's a few changes. I think is Hunt's on it. He tries to get it into the box. It falls out. It's Downs on it. Scoops the ball over the top and out to the left. Mann with his first involvement. He fires off a shot. Oh, it's almost ended up in the net. It was a deflected effort that bamboozled Voss in goal, but in the end, it's just fallen wide to the right. And wow, there was a nervy moment for Voss, who's already given them one, and luckily for him, it just goes wide to the right.
Yeah, just when Zebras get one back, they almost ship another goal. Hall on the ball now, plays to Stevens. Stevens calm, cool, collected, back to Hall. Plays inside to Hamlett. McKeown with a good challenge, but then it comes in along from Downs, and Voss collects willingly from a very high ball that came down with snow on it. His kick out of his hands, cleared by Lewis. Hamlett now gathers in the middle of the park. Stevens gets the second ball, continues his run, tries to bring in Hunt. Hunt stops, props, shimmy, shakes. Makes his way inside the 18-yard box. Stevens in space. Well cleared by Fag. And it's a free kick to the Zebras now. Fag over the ball now. I got a tweet in from Sam Criver. Predictions for the year. I reckon it will come down to the last round between South and Olympia. Thanks for tweeting in, Sammy, as Hall streams forward. Well stopped there by Hay, who's gone out of the game a little bit for Zebras in the latter half of that first half, and hasn't featured a lot early on this first, as Hamlett goes in hard. I think that's Engels down. A solid challenge from Hamlett. No, it's McKeown down. And it seems that Copper had stopped the game before it went out because he thought it was a head injury. No, yes, and it'll be a drop ball. And Zebras will pick it up and do the sportsmanly thing and get it back to South Hobart. Pearce will gather now. Hamlett doesn't leave anything out of a challenge, does he?
Doesn't leave anything out there, Benny Hamlett, and that's part of. He brings a lot to the contest in terms of defensive pressure as well, not just going forward. We've seen he's threatened greatly tonight, but he also works so hard, getting back and helping out, and piles on the pressure onto his Zebras opponent. He really doesn't give him a free minute. He's always on their case, and Voss will have a goal kick there after a fairly tame effort from South Hobart from range.
All to play for now, Gilly. Just the one goal in it. As Ludford clears away for South Hobart. Ludford certainly hasn't seen as much ball as he normally would in the centre of defence for South Hobart. Hasn't found a way to impose himself at the left-back role as Hay gets the ball, spreads it inside to Fag under pressure. He tries to spread it wide left, and Self probably found himself just stretched inside. But the deflection, it seems, means that it's Zebra's throw-in. Brown reads it and is fouled by Fag in the process, and South Hobart will get a quick free kick. Ball comes along from Pearce into the... Self goes into the back of Connor Schmidt, and it's a free kick again for South. Brown on the ball now. Tries to find Hamlett's feet. Tolkill is there to clear away. So can Ethan Engels be that catalyst?
He can, but I'll tell you a trump card the Zebras have in their arsenal. Sean Tolkill, just across there. You've got to be one of the best supporters running around. So it's a foul and a slice. A slice against Chrissy Downs. Yeah. But he enters the book, and that's one apiece now with the Chiefs.
I don't think Ken Morton will mind that. We've spoken a bit about Chris Downs being probably not a hefty frame in terms of body, but I think Ken Morton will like that he's thrown his body around in the middle of the park there in that more defensive, deeper line midfield role. So, I don't think Ken Morton will have an issue with that. Good pressure there from Chrissy Downs.
KG5 just quietens down just a touch, and there's a bit of a lull in the place as Tyler Harrison pumps it forward down the left. It goes over the head of everyone. He's aiming for Ricky Self but couldn't pick him out, and it's out of play for a throw-in. We're into the 9th minute of the second half between Hobart Jeep Zebras and South Hobart. It's a tight one. Hobart Jeep Zebras 2, South Hobart 3. And the throwing comes to Joe Stevens. It's sharked off him by McKeown, but Darcy Hall says, whatever you can do, I can do better. Gets it going the other way off the back of Hamlett. Walsh with a safety-first approach. Gets it back to Harrison. Oh, he tries a bit of trickery with a rollover, but Hamlett, his pressure is just immense. He picks up the ball, and then Harrison collects him later. Oh, and Hamlett doesn't go down easy. He's not a player that goes down easy, but he stayed down for a little bit of extended time just to stretch it out, I think. So the thing about Hamlett, you probably won't get 90 out of him because he just runs too hard. You're probably shooting for a 75 to 80 at best. I heard stories of last year when he did play a 90-minute game up at Valley Road, and he played a cracker, but he was spewing afterwards because it took absolutely everything and more out of him as the ball comes down the line. Dogger Brown gets a header on it, but it's pumped forward by Fag. Pearce a long way from home, all the way on Gilligan's Island, picks it up, gets it to Downs, and out on the left to Ludford, receives back, and then back to that man, Hugh Ludford. Been out on the left, as you said, Paskey, and very astutely said, may I add. We haven't really called Ludford's name all that much tonight because he's out on the left and he doesn't get the pill we're used to seeing Hugh Ludford get as Voss with it. One of those big raking boots goes forward. Hay gets on it and tries to use his pace, but Ludford jumps in to intervene, puts it out in front of Mann, and Mann's adjudged offside. So won't get to a run onto that one, and Braden Mann looks pretty upset that he's offside, but I don't think Braden Mann's ever thought he's been correctly adjudged offside. He always seems really filthy with it because it's probably one more goal he won't get as Harrison very calmly Brings it out of the Zebras' defence. Finds McKeown nicely. He tries to dink inside of Brown. Brown does well with a pair of challenges that get it going South Hobart's way. Hamlett on it. Oh, and he's down. I think he's hurt his leg again. I don't know what's going on there, but play goes on. Hamlett picks himself up. And it comes forward to Toghill. He gets the boot on out to Self. Self trying to get past his marker there, and Brown goes down. Looked to collect it with his hand, but Copra's called a throw in. It looked like a handball, I've got to say, there from Dan Brown, and he's stretching using the fence. And Schmidt will bring this one back into play. Oh, Alfred Hess. Alfred Hess introduced. Here he is, the big Fred. On he comes for Ben Hammer, and good change, I think, from Ken Morton. Just put the hammer on ice. He's, as we said, he's prone to give it all out there, and we've got the Hess man on for him. And interesting to see Mark Moncur doubling as a backup goalkeeper, and what looked like to be assistant, bringing him up to take up the sub. Hess may have his first involvement here as it comes back to Voss. It bobbles off his boot. He'd want to ship this one up. That's a horrible effort. Comes to Mann. Oh, no. I'm not sure how Zebras have not conceded there. In the end, Voss mops up on the byline. But that was a horror show.
I'll tell you what, if this is an indication of what he's going to give us throughout the season, my heart and Jed Donohue's heart, more to the point, will not cope. That was almost an absolute horror show. They've done a power of work to get themselves back into this game, and that could have all gone by the wayside then. I reckon Alfred Hess has got a little bit of last year's season of The Bachelor about him. Gilly? A little bit of Photoshop work to be done there, I think, between Alfred and Blake. And I'm going to call Alfred. I'm not going to try and shorten that. As Mann goes forward, plays to Hunt. Well cleared by Walsh. Oh, no, perhaps that's Fag. Oh, in fact, third time lucky, it's Cox.
Looks like Zebras might be preparing themselves for a change. I think it's Warner warming up there at halfway. Also Grant Malcolm pacing around the area. Who's done that one? Who's that? Rosie stitched me up with a looky-likey, and I have no idea.
Half-time looky-likey, Damien Gill and Sonny from Skippy. I don't mind it. Well played, Rhodesy.
Rhodesy, that's I'll give you that. That's not bad. I've hit it for a while, Rose, but I am a former child star. As the throwing comes in, ship it up the park. I did also like the looky-likey for a few of them for Rosie himself, Shane Lee. Always a good one. It's an old one, but a goodie. Yeah, goodie. And someone just simply posted a block of Top Deck, which is always good to see. As it looks like Zebras will make a couple of changes. Ethan Engels, he's barely been on, has he? Waddle. No, I don't know about these changes.
You know what? I'll make a call now. Bad move. Don't take off White Hot. Don't take off Engels.
You don't want White Hot to cool down.
When he's white hot, he's white hot.
And Engels was looking good. Coming at them from all angles. And so two changes there. Grant Malcolm on, and I think it's Luke Warner, but I'll just double check that one. And peculiar changes for mine, but there must be a method to Jed Donohue's madness. It is Luke Warner introduced. I don't agree with those changes.
The point I'd make is Engels has scored his goal from pace, getting in front of the South Hobart defence when the ball came over. Is Malcolm going to have that same toe to get in there? I don't know. I don't think so. As Toghill brings down Hall. And now
the owner of a silver BMW.
Fag plays his way out.
FS6678 is at the ground. Could they come down to the bottom of the stand, please? That's the owner of the silver BMW, FS6678, parked in Grove Road near the takeaway shop.
Seems like maybe something's happened to someone's BMW outside the ground near the chip shop. I think that was the voice of Chris Hay, in fact. in full police gear calling out for that. I think someone might have run into a BMW. is the rumour getting around the crowd here, Gilly? So, but if you own a BMW, you probably can afford insurance, can't you?
You'd hope so. I don't know. Too many people rolling around buying Beamers and not insuring them.
Just heard the bloke say, I think his son asked him, how does that happen? He goes, oh, it's quite easy, son, if you've had a few beers.
Some stellar life advice going on here at KG.
It's not easy to hit a car, is it?
No. And a couple of beers probably shouldn't be behind the wheel. But anyway, as long as it's... anyway, let's get on with the football. This is driven forward. I think it's Fag out there on the right. Might be wrong. It's Cox, actually. As it comes down on the left side, Schmidt and Malcolm going for it. Malcolm plays it into Warrener. Warrener looks to test Pearce on his line, but he collects comfortably. Race away. I've got to say, bringing Malcolm on plays right into the hands of South Hobart for mine. They got no pace at the back. Dogger Brown would be going, oh, thanks, yeah, I'll have a Grant Malcolm. Perfect matchup.
It's the sort of physicality he loves.
Yeah, I think it's a peculiar move, and one, it's not going to win him a game of football, let's say that. If it does, I'll eat my words. But for mine, it's a strange move, as it's a set piece for the Zebras out wide on the right.
White hot, staying warm. So that's good signs. Muller also warming up. And I think maybe Carl Larzabal. Just like saying Larzabal, just rolls off the tongue. Ball comes in long and strong to Warrener, and it'll be out for a goal kick. So you've now got Fag and Hay playing in that central pairing with McKeown at the top of the diamond, Warrener out wide left, Malcolm up top for Zebras, and Self out on the right. We've got a little tweet from Fishy. Silk Boxes himself. Love the call, boys, from the sunny coast. It's just a nice 28 degrees up here. Hashtag the game needs bald fat guys still. Please find one. The closest I've got out there at the moment is Malcolm. So you'd be happy with Jed Donohue's change, Fishy. But nice to hear from you. Fantastic to see you on Twitter. May it long continue. So Zebras now. Speak of that man, Malcolm wins the challenge from Stevens. One of the more inventive hashtags we've seen this evening, Fishy. The ball comes along and strong. Pearce, the nice running, diving catch, and spreads it to Connor Schmidt with a really incisive ball through to Hall and well covered by Cox. I think we might have an official crowd figure coming our way here. 415 in the joint tonight, Gilly. It's not a bad start for 2015.
415 for 2015. Yeah, not a bad start at all, as Mann flashes off a ball across the box. It's just come off the head of Walsh, and he gets racing. He's looking for the ball back here, as I think it's Self on the right. Tries to find him, but just catches a bit of Ludford and is out for a throw-in. So we're into the 19th minute of the second half, and it's Hobart Zebras 2, South Hobart 3. And got to say, I'm still happy with that hashtag from Fishy. One of the best rolling round.
The game still needs bald fat guys.
The game still needs you, Fishy. I want you to stay as a solid contributor on the tweet. As
Fishy could slide in every now and then. It's just a social media commentator for Slice of Cheese.
Would love it. From afar, would produce some absolute gold. Maybe not all of it PG, but that's what we like. It comes down the left and goes out of play. And Whitehall just seems to be going, why am I on the bench? What am I doing here? This is uncharted waters for the Whitehall. As Rexy Hunt picks it up, he looks good, plays it across to the right to Braden Mann. He's near what would be close enough to his home, the goal box, and he plays it across. It's cut off, and it's Hay that feeds McKeown. He tries to weasel round one, and Schmidt does really well. Beats Dogger Brown, who pulls out of his challenge. Lewis comes across and checks McKeown, and he's shown a slice of cheese. He is shown a slice.
Good shout from the crowd too. Someone really getting vocal And it wasn't the standard call of cut his head off, but it was show him the cheese, Gilly. The cry from the stands. So Copper obliged, and Lewis goes in the book for a pretty cynical challenge on McKeown. Perhaps could have gotten the ball moving a little bit faster than McKeown. He had players advanced of himself. Now Zebras will look to try to level 21 minutes into this second half. Self on the ball. It's a good ball in. Flicks off the... Oh, it hits the crossbar. It's off the head of Daniel Brown, who's lying on the ground, slow to make his way up. He flew high, and it went over the top of Pearce and into the crossbar, and there was no one to tap it home for Zebras. South Hobart escaped with their lead intact. And the score remains 3-2 as South Hobart look to make a change. Harrison Thomas is going to come on here for Chris Downs, who's done a pretty decent job in the centre of midfield after a slow 15-minute, 20-minute start. So it'll be a like-for-like change, and we forget that Harrison Thomas actually played for Zebras last year as well, didn't he? So another one to make the switch back in between the two clubs. He'll slot into that defensive midfield role. Picks up his first touch of the ball, but he can't control it. Hayes there to pounce. Brown comes to clear away. A ricochet off Hay and out for a South Hobart throw-in. Ludford again with a rare touch on the ball. Zebras clear through Walsh. He's been good in right back today. It's off the feet of Hall and out for a Zebras throw-in.
Tell you what, they're not done here, the Zebras, but I'd just like to see Whitehall and Engels back on the pitch sooner rather than later if they are going to make a charge. As Malcolm gets involved, he's punished this one for it. Goes straight to Schmidt. He looks to pick out man, but it's well tracked down by Tog Hill, and he sends it out of play. Braden Mann throws in to Harrison Thomas, who's all by himself. He gets by one place to Hall. Out in the left, Hall goes. He's almost cut down early by Cox, but he keeps playing to Hall, and he fires off a shot, and Voss is up well. Bit of a TV dive, but he does well and saves it out to the right, and it's a corner for South Hobart.
Couple of extra sausage rolls in there just for show, but a good diving save to his right for Voss. South Hobart with the corner now. Let's see what they can try to craft from here. Cross in doesn't get any further than the front post and Fag. Zebras clear away. Poor touch from Connor Schmidt. Sees Warrener brought into the game from McKeown. 1-on-1 now is Schmidt. Sends it long to the back post. McKeown is there alone. He screams for a handball from Harrison Thomas, but it looked like it came off the midriff, and I think McKeown perhaps a little bit more frustrated in himself that he just couldn't take more of that chance. It's end-to-end stuff here now. As Harrison Thomas finds himself on the ball. Darcy Hall plays it back to him. Plenty of time and space for Thomas. Alfred plays it back to Stevens. He spreads it wide to the left to Mann. Mann plays in Thomas. South Hobart enjoying some possession now. Hall spreads it left, and Walsh just misses the clearance, so it'll be Hunt 1-on-1 with him. He gets across him, but it's well cleared by Harrison. McKeown now on the ball. Asking Warrener to go. Warrener utilising his pace. Pearce is out. Pearce clears away and does away with the danger for South Hobart for a moment or two as Warrener has the ball in his hands.
Throwing comes in. It's from Warrener to Tog Hill. Tog Hill, as Darcy Hall and Warrener collide, it comes down the right for Alfred Hess. He picks it up. He beats one in Cox, or Fag there rather, and Oh, man does well. Weasels gets it back looking for Hess, and it's seen clear by Walsh. It was a bit of lazy work there by Fag, as you said, Pask. Just let Hess run away from him, more or less. Spend his petrol tickets. It's only the Summer Cup. You wouldn't want to be spending your petrol tickets. Although, having said that, Pasky, petrol's down. It's quite cheap at the moment. So maybe you can fill her up. Maybe have a little stint in the sidelines and fill her up and get back out there as the ball comes in. And it's seen out for a goal kick as Hess tried to track it down, but it was Toghill that just watched it over. It'll be a goal kick.
Zebras with just under 20 minutes to turn this one around and draw level with South Hobart. Voss with the goal kick now, goes long. 2 South men fly to Zebras 1. Hayes beaten in the air by Hall and Thomas. Great challenge from Fag to stop Thomas in his tracks. He sends him all the way back to Brown. Brown goes long to Hall. He tries to bring it down, but only as far as Toghill. Toghill tries to go inside, but can't find Malcolm. Stevens with some tidy work. Fag playing on the ground. Toghill now gets involved. Stevens wins it off him. Toghill finally makes the challenge, and it's a South Hobart throw-in after all is said and done.
So we're into the 27th minute. This the second half, Pask, and it's quite delicately poised, really. Zebra's still in the game, but you got to think another goal from South Hobart makes it really tricky as it comes back to Harrison Thomas. Out on the left they go. It's Hunt on the ball. He does. Walsh all ends up. Does another one. Have a third. Why don't you? In the end, I think it was Toghill that got a boot in. It comes out to Harrison Thomas, who tries one of the more ambitious strikes and sends it over to the football ground next door. But I tell you what, Chris Hunt there just sold about 3 people into trouble with a couple of little dosey-dos and a little dink inside. Made him look right silly.
Just went one too many and you don't get past Toghill, Gilly.
No, you don't. That's a whole nother Toghill to climb. As Voss will bring this one in. Voss the boss. I don't know whether I'd give him boss tonight, but he's at a real mix night. As it comes forward on halfway, Stevens helps it along its way to Harrison Thomas. He wrestles with Hay, and I reckon he's absolutely smashed Hay there. But play goes on, and South Hobart are the beneficiary as Hall gets racing down the right, has a shot deflected out. South probably thought they'd have a corner there, but it looks like the last touch has come off Hall himself, so it'll be a goal kick for Voss.
Still 1-0 to Brisbane in the A-League for those listening and tune in. I'll put it this to you, Gilly. If Voss has a better night in goals, the scoreline currently is 2-2.
Yeah, very fair. Very fair. Although he did make a blinder of a save at one point. Or maybe not a blinder, a good save to deny Leszczynski at one point as Harrison Thomas puts it out in front of man. He enters the box. Puts it back to Thomas, not far from the edge of the box, along to Stevens. He helps it further to Hall. Hall fires off a shot, or cross even, looking to pick out man there. Man raced in, but couldn't get enough on it to guide it into the net, and it flies wide of goal.
Warren are just gambling a little bit now. Has obviously been asked to play as high as he can up top left, and as a result, Zebra's perhaps just getting a little bit exposed on the left. Voss to start us again from a goal kick. Hay uninterested. The body language isn't great when you're not jumping for the ball at least, even if you know you can't win it. McKeown calling for a long ball over the top. Warren now on the ball. Oh, one-on-one now, Malcolm. Oh, Malcolm, instead of slotting, tries a delicate chip over Pearce, and that was the opportunity to score 1-on-1, and Malcolm undone. And had if the Engels been there, Gilly, would we have had a different result?
Potentially, but the butterfly effect, as it's played forward by Pearce. He gives it to Harrison Thomas. McKeown slides in, but just gets away to Brown, comes to Joey Stevens, collides with Fag, gets it long down the rock, where Toghill sees it away from man, and Toghill tries to fire up the troops, and it looks like Jordan Muller might be coming on, and South Hobart making a change as well. So Oscar Thomas. Interesting. Yeah, he's a big fella. He's come from the NTC program. So Hugh Ludford off for Oscar Thomas. With height like that, I wouldn't have thought he's best suited to a fullback position. So one must think they're going to 3 at the back here.
And McKeown off, Larzabal on. Interesting changes. I don't think McKeown will be happy with that. I mean, he's never happy. I don't think he'll be happy with that. Let's have a look. We've just witnessed a little altercation. McKeown just refused to shake Jed Donohue's hand. No, and then Jed Donohue turned around and said, "You'll shake my hand." And McKeown begrudgingly offered the hand. It's not great signs in the first game of the season, as Muller clears away for Zebras. Not happy Jan. Throw comes into the centre of the midfield. Hall tries to play a ball in. Larzabal picks the ball up. Looks sprightly. As Warrener comes through. And it looks like Warrener might have just copped one in the chest. I think it was both players going for the ball. Pearson come out and Warrener just clutching his chest. So maybe he copped a fist or a boot or a knee to the chest as Pearce came out trying to protect himself. Larzabal. No, Larzabal. Who came off for Muller was Hay. What was that, Gilly?
I'm not a fan of these changes, to be fair. I know it's summer cup and you want to experiment, but you're playing South Hobart and you've got to have the mental edge.
In your book, you want the mental edge.
Absolutely.
Gilly's book of football, give me the mental edge.
100%. Give me the mental edge. But those changes just don't make a lot of sense again for me. Hay's providing pace. Maybe Hay a spell. I think that's probably fair enough. Hay a spell. But yeah, I agree with that. But McKeown off is a peculiar one for mine because at times he's looked really threatening tonight.
Maybe Jed Donohue just trying to instill that you're not above anything. And that I'll make the calls and I'll make the changes. You don't tell me what I'll do in my team. A gaffer just trying to get control of his troops. Fag sends it long to the back post from a deep wide position. It's well cleared. Now it's into the feet of Self. Self will look to shimmy. Goes to Muller. Muller puts a cross in. And dangerous one. Just floating in the air. Pearce managed to get there. And now spreads it wide to Connor Schmidt. Connor plays into the feet of Stevens. Back out to Schmidt, and Daniel Brown under some pressure just sprays that one out for a throw in.
Another one from Silk Boxers Fielding. Loving the slice of cheese. Boy, guys, I'm a coon man myself. Replays are brilliant, especially after a few frothies, which we all know you don't mind, Josh Fielding. As Stevens and Fag collide for the ball. Comes out well for the Zebras out on the right side now. And it's Self with the ball. Delicately plays in Muller. Comes back to Warrener, who gets a bit on it. Comes to Malcolm! Oh, and it's saved well by Pearce. It's saved well by Pearce. Malcolm with a flat, low strike. Pearce down well. Saves. And there's a South Hobart player down in some agony, and it is Daniel Brown. Another player that doesn't go down easy. So maybe a few nervy moments here as play pauses.
Great opportunity again there, Gilly, for the equaliser. 35 minutes into this second half, just 10 to play. South Hobart players throwing themselves in front of the ball to try and stop that. It fell to Warrener, I think, with the first shot, and then the follow-up from Malcolm just couldn't get through that sea of South Hobart bodies, and it's that desperation that sees them maintain their one-goal lead. Zebras pushing hard for the equaliser. Daniel Brown still on the ground here, receiving some treatment. The Zebras boys pull themselves into a little huddle. Try to refocus. Just 10 minutes to play. Ken Morton talking to Darcy Hall, just as he gets a little bit of extra liquid. Dan Brown up walking now, so looks okay. Daniel Brown walking off, just taking in some big breaths at the moment. I'm not sure whether he's off for good or whether he's just coming off so that he can come back on. I think he'll come back on. I don't think we're going to see a change from South Hobart. The big brute, the big beast that is Daniel Brown. So South Hobart, by all rights, will throw this ball back, and it's good sportsmanship shown by both sides. Daniel Brown makes his way back into the middle of defence. A wayward ball there from Cox. South still find themselves under some pressure, but Pearce able to play a canny ball back to Lewis, and they play their way out of trouble. Hunt with fast feet on the ball. Looks to find the feet of Alfred. He keeps the ball well. Fag playing defensive duties on the deck. 8 minutes to play in this one, plus a bit of extra change, Gilly, for time added on. So you think maybe 10 minutes left.
Yeah, it's been a title contest. You wonder whether there's one roll of the dice left in Jed Donoghue, and whether the likes of Ethan Engels, McKeown or Benny Whitehall might get involved, but it doesn't look that way with the players at disposal. We see Trent Pearce warming up. We see Ethan Engels warming up, Nick McDonald, but no Benny Whitehall. There's a play throughout on the right. It's Walsh on the ball. Gets it to Self. Self does well. He's got Lewis's company. Plays through to Harrison. Fag. This comes to Warrener. Warrener tries to get in the centre. It's well picked up by Harrison Thomas, but sharked back through Dwayne Walsh. He comes to Lazabel. Is heaved forward by Fag. And well helped out by Dan Brown, who's rejoined play. As Darcy Hall squirts a ball down the right. It's a dangerous looking one as Darcy Hall, looks to run onto it. But Voss forgets he's a goalie, doesn't opt to pick it up and just watches it over the byline. I'm not sure where he's at tonight, but it worked out okay in the end for the big goalie. Voss, the boss, comes to himself.
I'm being unfair, but Voss, if you want to come along with two, I'm sure you can critique my game.
As it comes to Lazabel in midfield. He tries to enter the box. Oscar Thomas just powers it out. And it ricochets off the back of Harrison Thomas to Dwayne Walsh, who plays a fairly strange ball, I think. Opts to go in the centre of the Muller and actually puts the Zebras under a bit of unnecessary pressure there, and South Hobart wrestle it back. And we're into the 85th minute here, Pesky. So time ticking away from the Zebras. Try and give you a bit of a soundtrack just to ramp up the last five or so minutes as Lewis throws in. He's found Hess out there, who's done really well. Alfred's turned it inside out, placed a man back down to the Hess man, and it's seen clear from Harrison, who's looked pretty well equipped in patches, but obviously there was that sort of 6 minute spree from South Hobart in the first half where the whole Zebra's defence was at sea.
World imploded.
It did. The world as we know it. Throw in from Hunt. I don't know what Hunt's done there. That's an absolute Barry Crocker. Throwing comes in. Looks to receive back. It's Fag that helps it on its way with a skied ball. It's Larzabel who tries to win it away from Stevens, but can't. It comes out, and I'm pretty sure that's Fag on the ball. And it's a nice little bit of interplay, and it ends up back with Fag, and then to Larzabel, who spreads it wide to Toghill, who's bombing. But Mann keeps up with him. Toghill does well to wrestle it back, though. Goes to Larzabel. Oh, nice. Just threads the needle. Comes out Toghill. Down the right he goes. Lewis sees it clear, only as far as Hunt, who's bustled over by Walsh.
4 minutes to play here, plus change. As it stands, South Hobart will take out the victory. Although this isn't really for points, is it, Gilly? It's a changeover. It's a changeover game. This one, isn't it?
Yeah. So well, it is for points, but yeah. So they get points in the group, but So that's their changeover game because that's the way it works anyway. They just happen to pick each other up as Walsh. Hall's done really, really well to get inside the left side of the box, and he's fired off a shot in the end, but it's well dealt with by Zebras in the finish. And pump forward down the right to absolutely no one in particular. Very good point from Matthew Dyson on the tweet, asking whether the Zebras are actually trying to win it. Their best three strikers in McKeown, Engels and White all on the bench.
Good call, Dyso.
Amen. That was a very creaky. My voice is not at its finest as Brown plays it out to the right. Picks out Mann. Mann does well on a first touch. Picks Hall. Hall dinks by one. Can't beat a second in Toghill, who's probably been the standout of the Zebras defenders as Harrison picks it up. Plays along to Warrener. In he goes. Larzabel on the ball. And Harrison Thomas with some good body pressure there sees it out.
Some more changes now. We've seen Engels come on for Malcolm and Nick McDonald coming on for Self. So last roll of the dice, Donohue's going to try to use Ethan Engels' pace up top again. Malcolm's done his shift and so Self. Toghill goes along to Warrener. Well covered by Connor Schmidt. Connor Schmidt's impressed me tonight. Gilly, it's the first time I've really seen him play a lot, and he's got good composure, can really play the ball. Wins the ball there from Warrener's feet, and now South Hobart with the throw-in. Toghill all over Darcy Hall, and it'll be a free kick for South Hobart. A few people starting to file out now, Gilly. They think it's done and dusted. Could we get a late twist here?
Where there's time, there's a way. As it comes to Mann, he gets by Cox. Comes out wide to Hall, who's getting busier as the minutes tick on. And a slice of cheese for the Hess man. Right, that's a peculiar one. I'm not too sure what's going on here, Paskey. Do you have a better vantage point?
Alfred hasn't been happy with some attention that he suggests Toghill showed Mann. Mann gave the ball off and then felt like he was body checked by Toghill. He's remonstrating with Toghill. Toghill's telling him to get off off the floor. And Alfred has remonstrated with Copper and gone in the book. Slice of cheese.
Interesting. Not a great time to give it away either, really, is it? As Fag drives the Zebras forward into a busy pack of players. Comes to Engels. He's close enough to the goal, but Oscar Thomas just scurries out of clearance. It comes out wide to the right. Walsh bolts down that channel, but it gets away from him. Or does he keep it in on the byline? He does, but Oscar Thomas is the only one there, and he sees this one out. It should go to Harrison, who lets it run out for a throw-in. He throws forward. 2 South Hobart players compete with 1 zebra, and the zebra wins out somehow. Comes forward to Nick McDonald, who tries to use his pace, and Oscar Thomas sends it to Northgate.
You're not getting that ball back, fellas. See you, fellas. Zebras try to move the ball quickly. McDonald with a quick throw in now to Walsh. Walsh turns inside, plays it back to McDonald. McDonald trying to get a cross in. Shimmies one way, shimmies the other. Then looks like he's brought down. McDonald not happy. Lewis does his job, and it rolls out for a goal kick, and Pearce will take as much time as he can here. No, he won't. Plays a quick free kick. Quick goal kick, sorry. Tries to find Connor Schmidt on the right. Long diagonal ball. He puts in a lovely ball to Darcy Hall. Oh, really good sliding challenge from from Cox. Warren now on the ball. We're into extra time now, ladies and gentlemen. Ball goes to Cox. Cox turns inside Alfred. Finds the feet of Lazabal. He turns away into the feet of Warner. Is this the last ditch attempt? Great little challenge by Warner. Comes back inside Muller. Muller will open it up and just can't find the ball. Can only find Hunt's feet, and he moves South Hobart out of danger. Fag doing a power of work in this last 5 minutes. Puts a long diagonal ball into the back post. Free header! Warner can't get enough power on it and goes to the weighty hands of Pearce. Daniel Brown with his arms up saying, Connor Schmidt, where are you? And luckily, South Hobart escape. That might be about it. Copra takes a look at his watch. Cox on a long throw. Walsh is in here. Could be a corner. It's a corner ball here. Late nerves for South Hobart. Zebras are going to bomb everyone forward, surely. South call everyone back. Will Voss come up? Voss, both hands praying. McDonald's going to send it long and strong. There's a scrap in the box. It's well cleared by South Hobart. Game over. So a flurry of, I think, about 10 minutes that saw 3 South Hobart goals. A flurry of 6 minutes, which saw 3 South Hobart goals in the first half. See South Hobart come out the victor 3-2, recapping the score as McKeown scored first for South Hobart. Hamlett equalised for South Hobart. Leszczynski then popped up with 2 to make it 3-1. Engels scored in the first minute of the second half, and it remained that way for the rest of the half. South Hobart take the points 3-2 in what was a thrilling encounter, and if the rest of the season is anything to go by, gee, that sets us up really nicely, Gilly.
It does indeed. I don't know that we saw the best of either team here. In patches we did, but there's plenty more to get out of both teams, and I think that just bodes well for a superb PS4 Victory League season. But the great thing is that the old sparring pair from last year that was so tight are still pretty close into the new year, despite all the changes at both clubs. So, as I said, it bodes well for a very good PS4 Victory League, and who knows, they might meet again in the Summer Cup.
Thanks for tuning in. As we said, if you're interested, tomorrow there's another smorgasbord of football, 6 games on offer at KG5. If you've tuned in tonight, we thank you for your attendance. Great to have you on board, and we hope to have you alongside us on the couch or the armchair or wherever you are in the worldwide web as we continue to bring you football throughout 2015. For now, it's Callum Pask
and Damien, the Gillmeister General Gill.